If you've never seen a Star Wars, this is Darth Sidious, aka Emperor Palpatine. He's a big bad guy who ruled over the galaxy and shot lightning from his fingers using the Force, the big wibbly-wobbly, spacey-wacy stuff that permeates everything and comes in two flavors, light and dark. Darth Plagueis is the guy who taught Emperor Palpatine how to shoot lightning out of his fingers. Both of them are Sith, where Jedis are good guys who use the light side of the Force to act as galactic peacekeepers. The Sith use the dark side to pursue passion and power, for which being evil is not technically a prerequisite, but if you look at their names for 2 seconds, you will see that there is a pretty strong correlation. 1,000 years ago, the Sith and the Jedi had a big war. The Jedi won because the Sith were all evil and stabbing each other in the back, and the Sith retreated into the shadows. For the next 800 years, the Jedi had no idea that the Sith were even still around, because in a galaxy of quadrillions of sentient life forms, there are at any point in time exactly 2 Sith. Usually. That's because when the Sith lost their big war, the biggest, baddest Sith decided that the old way of doing things was dumb, because all the Sith were stabbing each other in the back, allowing the weaker Sith to team up and kill the stronger Sith, which is cheating and doesn't count. Ever since then, the Sith usually follow the rule of 2. One dude has power and wants an apprentice. One dude wants power and is apprentice. Then when the apprentice grows big and strong, he kills the master and thinks to himself, you know what I need around here is an apprentice. You might be able to see some flaws in this system, which is why people don't always follow it. So it's been almost 900 years since the big war, and a certain little boy named Higo Damask is born to a super rich family, and he is a special little boy because he can use the Force. When he was still a kid, he taught himself how to control people's emotions until he convinced one of his playmates to kill himself, and his mother tells him, oh, okay, maybe let's keep this our little secret. Higo's parents then hand their little boy over to this trustworthy fellow who, just happens to be the Sith Lord Darth Tenebris. Higo grows up, gets his supervillain name Darth Plagueis, masters the dark side, then goes back to his home planet to kill all of his siblings and get crazy inheritance money from his dad. One day, while he's moonlighting as a Sith, he and his master Tenebris are in the Outer Rim looking for deposits of a mineral that's resistant to lightsabers, which sounds crazy, but actually doesn't affect the plot at all. Things go wrong. There's a big explosion. Tenebris uses his powers to shield them from said explosion.
It's a good thing the two of us can always count on each other.
But Master, what are you going to do about that huge boulder on top of you?
What boulder?
It's in this moment Plagueis decides the rule of 2 is dumb. But without it, how will the Sith pass on their master plan? The Sith are supposed to be at all times working towards the subversion of the Galactic Republic in order to take power away from the Jedi, but the Sith, being known for their personal ambition, often had their own personal goals. Plagueis decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Plagueis decided he would continue the way of the dark side by just not dying, idiot. Way back in the day, the Sith could do crazy things like swap bodies and possess people, or just survive for years at a time without a body at all. But all it took was one master who didn't get a chance to tell his apprentice about that stuff before getting murdered, and that knowledge was gone forever. But Plagueis thinks he can reverse engineer those techniques and use the Force to achieve immortality. Little does Plagueis know his former master Tenebris was also a bit iffy on the rule of 2 and had a secret backup apprentice whom he sent to hunt down Plagueis in the event of his death. But Plagueis, being the primary, stronger apprentice, just goes, ooh, a test subject. He beats the guy in a fight and experiments on how long he can keep him alive in excruciating pain. He also discovers a list of names, all Force-sensitive people who would make for a great apprentice. Because, even though an immortal Plagueis would never need a successor, the Sith paternal instincts are just too strong. He goes on a couple devious misadventures looking for a partner until he finally finds one in an unlikely place. Plagueis is still a CEO, and as CEO, he wants plasma for his company, and this planet called Naboo's got lots of it, but they won't sell it to him. They're in the middle of choosing their next king, and it's either going to be Lord Anti-Plasma, who wants to make 0 money, or Lord Pro-Plasma, who wants to make all the money. Naturally, Plagueis wants Lord Pro-Plasma to win, and one of the guys that makes that happen is this kid named Sheev Palpatine. The Palpatines were a noble family that were very much anti-plasma. Which was great, because then Sheev could act as a spy inside of his own family and spill all kinds of important information that would be useful for Lord Pro-Plasma and his business friends. So, Sheev Palpatine spies for Darth Plagueis. Plagueis gets to thinking this kid would make a good apprentice. Palpatine's father, Palpatine Sr., sees his son getting all buddy-buddy with this no-good money grubber and demands he never speak to him or his son ever again. Plagueis talks to Sheev, and he talks to Sheev about his backstory and how great it was to kill his entire family and inherit a fortune. And then a little later, Plagueis gets a call.
I killed them all.
Oh, man. I thought you were just gonna emancipate yourself and run away. Boy, you are 100% Sith material.
Yes.
Come here, buddy. Let's get you some robes. Plagueis had kind of talked himself into believing that him taking an apprentice totally doesn't count as the rule of two because his apprentice is going to be different and not kill him. Did he take this boy into a frozen hellscape, explain to him the rule of two, and explicitly make Palpatine want to kill him through more hellish training? Yes, but you see, he told his apprentice they were going to be partners and equals and not kill each other, so it was a radical departure from tradition. So as partners, Plagueis and his buddy assassinate Naboo's senator, and who should fill his seat? I don't know, what about this kid who is the sole surviving member of the extremely prestigious Palpatine family? Don't you think we should give him a chance? Palpatine is appointed to the Senate, and all is moving according to plan. See, Plagueis might have been more interested in immortality than the rule of two, but this was still self-perpetuation with a purpose. The master plan to bring down the Republic must continue. However, Plagueis found it increasingly difficult to keep a clear mind on the whole situation. One of the pitfalls of being both a Sith Lord and a CEO, and puppeting a politician behind the scenes, aside from the stress, is that sometimes people send assassins after you. Plagueis is nearly killed until his good friend Palpatine saves his life. And Plagueis goes a little off the deep end. He becomes increasingly paranoid of everyone, except his good boy Palpatine, and he decides he's just not gonna sleep anymore. Ever? Under any circumstances. Instead, he's going to spend his new free time killing and unkilling his test subject. The extreme focus on that makes him a little oblivious to Palpatine doing things like conducting his own research on the dark side and growing more powerful and training his own apprentice. So now we skip forward to the events of Star Wars Episode 1. Plagueis was still alive at the time, if you can believe it. Plagueis and Palp working on a clone army, the broad plan for which is to get the Outer Rim star systems to secede from the Republic, then sell the clone army to the Republic, use the unrest to take power, and then flip the little switch in the clones' brains to
Execute Order 66.
and kill all of the Jedi. Along the way, Palpatine is using his new apprentice, Darth Maul, as his own secret errand boy, and they become aware of a peculiar little child from Tatooine named Anakin Skywalker. He was born without a father, just showed up one day in his mother's womb, and is the most Force-sensitive being in the entire known universe. The devilish duo think he might be the result of Plagueis' experiments with the Force, and
I'll be watching your career with great interest.
political shenanigans on Naboo, caused by Plagueis and Palpatine, trigger an election for Supreme Chancellor, and who should win that election but Sheev Palpatine? The master plan is this close to being executed. Palp and Plagueis retire to celebrate, and for the first time in 20 years, Plagueis shuts his eyes to sleep, and Palpatine immediately kills him. Just slowly enough to deliver a monologue about what a
Fool Plagueis has been. Just as Plagueis had been toying with the lives of his test subject, Palpatine had been toying with him, and now he would use what he learned to kill him.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Palpatine went on to take the mantle of Chancellor, turn Anakin into Vader,
Execute Order 66.
learn too late the importance of sunscreen, rule his galactic empire for about 20 years, and then fall down a reactor shaft. But he also inherited much of Plagueis' knowledge. Plagueis, after all, had been studying how to triumph over death, both through extending the life of the body and looking into the ways of the old Sith masters who could possess new bodies. So when Palpatine died, it actually all comes full circle back to the pre-established canon where... No, never mind. Disney made this entire story non-canon, and somehow Palpatine returned.